The package arrived on a Tuesday morning, wrapped in forest green paper with a red velvet ribbon that screamed, "Expensive taste," and "I'm trying too hard." I knew who it was from before I even read the tag. To Isabel, Merry Christmas. I hope you're well. Ethan. My hands froze on the edge of the box. 3 years. It had been 3 years since I walked out of Ethan Richardson's penthouse apartment with nothing but my dignity and a suitcase full of shattered dreams. 3 years since I discovered he'd been sleeping with his just a colleague while I planned our future like the naive idiot I was. And now, a Christmas gift. As if we were old friends. As if he hadn't destroyed me. I should have thrown it away immediately, should have tossed it in the garbage chute of my apartment building and forgotten about it. But curiosity, that deadly, stupid curiosity, made me pull the ribbon loose. Inside was a snow globe. Delicate, handcrafted, expensive. Inside the glass dome was a tiny replica of the Brooklyn Bridge, where Ethan had proposed to me 4 years ago, where I'd said yes with tears streaming down my face, believing I'd found forever. The note tucked beneath it made my stomach turn. Remember when we were happy? I miss that version of us. Coffee sometime? I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the snow globe against the wall and watch it shatter into 1,000 pieces, just like he'd shattered me. Instead, I did something stupider. I brought it to work. I worked at Salvatore's, an upscale Italian restaurant in Manhattan that had been in the Moretti family for 3 generations. On paper, I was the evening manager, handling reservations, staff schedules, customer complaints, the usual chaos of high-end dining. But I'd learned in my 8 months working there that Salvatore's wasn't just a restaurant. It was a front. The kind of front where men in expensive suits had meetings in the private dining room downstairs, where cash changed hands in amounts that made my legitimate salary look like pocket change, where the owner, Dante Moretti, commanded respect that went far beyond good boss and landed firmly in dangerous man you don't cross territory. I'd been hired by his sister, Lucia, who managed the daytime operations. She'd looked at my resume, barely glanced at my references, and said, "You've got sad eyes but a strong spine. You'll do fine here. Just remember, you see nothing, you hear nothing, you know nothing." I'd followed that advice religiously, until today. Until I walked into Salvatore's with that goddamn snow globe in my bag, my emotions a tangled mess of old wounds ripped open. The lunch rush was winding down when I arrived for my 3 p.m. shift. The kitchen staff was prepping for dinner service, the scent of garlic and fresh basil filling the air. I loved this place, the organized chaos, the passion everyone poured into their work, the way even the dishwashers moved with purpose. I stashed my coat and bag in my office, a glorified closet behind the kitchen, and tried to shake off the morning's emotional ambush. I was reviewing tonight's reservation list when he appeared in my doorway. Dante Moretti wasn't just handsome. Handsome was too simple a word for what he was. He was devastating. 6'3" of controlled power wrapped in custom Italian suits that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Dark hair always perfectly styled, sharp jawline that could cut glass, and eyes so dark they looked black in certain lighting. But it wasn't his looks that made my heart race every time he was near. It was the danger that radiated from him like heat from a flame. The way he moved like a predator, smooth, deliberate, aware of every person in every room. The way his voice could drop to a lethal whisper that made grown men pale, and the way he looked at me, like I was something precious and breakable that he was trying very hard not to touch. Isabel. My name in his mouth always sounded different, Italian accent curling around the syllables, turning it into something almost beautiful. "We need to talk about the Castellano reservation tonight." Right, the Castellano family. Another name I'd learned not to ask questions about. "Of course." I kept my voice professional, steady. "The private room is set for 8 people, 7 o'clock. I've assigned Marco and Sophia to serve. They know the protocols." By protocols, I meant they knew not to remember faces, not to linger, not to react to anything they heard. Dante nodded, but he didn't leave. Instead, he stepped into my tiny office, and suddenly the space felt approximately the size of a shoebox. His eyes, those impossibly dark eyes, swept over my desk, and I watched his expression change. The snow globe. I'd taken it out of my bag without thinking, set it on the corner of my desk like the self-destructive idiot I apparently was. "What is this?" His voice had changed, dropped lower, colder. "Nothing, just—" I reached for it, but his hand shot out faster, picking it up before I could touch it. He examined it with the same intensity he probably used to evaluate threats, turned it over, read the engraving on the bottom that I hadn't noticed. E&I, forever starts here. When he looked up at me, something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "Who gave you this?" I should have lied. Should have said it was from a friend, a family member, anyone else. But Dante had a way of looking at people, looking into people, that made lies feel impossible. My ex-boyfriend. It arrived this morning. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Your ex-boyfriend," he repeated slowly, "sent you a gift." "A Christmas gift, yes. I don't know why. We haven't spoken in 3 years. I should throw it away. I will throw it away. I stopped talking because Dante's expression had shifted into something I'd never seen before. Fury. Pure, cold, controlled fury. "What is his name?" "Dante." "It doesn't matter." "What is his name?" The question wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The lethal quiet in his voice was more terrifying than any shout. "Ethan Richardson." The name felt like ash in my mouth. Dante was silent for a long moment, still holding the snow globe. Then, with deliberate slowness, he walked to the small trash can beside my desk and dropped it in. The sound of glass cracking was surprisingly loud. "You don't take gifts from him." His voice was absolute, final. "You don't take anything from him. Capisce?" I stared at him, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "That wasn't your decision to make." Yes, it was. The arrogance of that statement should have made me angry, should have made me grab my bag and walk out, dignity intact. Instead, I felt something else, something warm and dangerous unfurling in my chest. "Why?" I whispered. Dante stepped closer, close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, close enough to smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine with notes of leather and bergamot. "Because you work for me, because you are under my protection, and because no man sends gifts to a woman trying to reopen old wounds unless he wants something. You don't know that. I know men like him." His hand came up, and for one heart-stopping moment, I thought he might touch my face. Instead, his fingers hovered near my cheek, close enough to feel the heat of his skin. "I know exactly what he wants, and you will not give it to him. That's not your choice. Everything in this restaurant is my choice, Isabel, including who gets to approach what belongs to me." Belongs to him. I should have been offended, should have corrected him, reminded him that I was an employee, not a possession. But the way he was looking at me, like I was something worth protecting, worth claiming, made my breath catch in my throat. "Dante, throw away anything else he sends." He stepped back, putting professional distance between us again, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. "If he contacts you directly, you tell me. Immediatamente." Then he was gone, leaving me alone in my office with a broken snow globe in the trash and my heart beating like a war drum. I should have known Ethan wouldn't stop at one gift. He never knew when to quit. It was one of the things that had attracted me to him initially, his persistence, his refusal to take no for an answer. Back then, I'd thought it was romantic. Now I recognized it for what it was: control. The flowers arrived Wednesday afternoon. 24 white roses with another note. "Isabel, I know I hurt you. Let me make it right. Please." I was standing at the hostess station when the delivery guy walked in, massive bouquet in hand. My stomach dropped. Delivery for Isabelle Laurent? I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, just stared at those perfect white roses like they were snakes coiled to strike. "She doesn't want them." The voice came from behind me, deep, accented, laced with barely contained violence. Dante materialized beside me, and I watched the delivery guy's face go pale. Whether it was Dante's tone or the way he carried himself, like a man used to being obeyed without question, I didn't know. "Sir, I just need a signature." "Take them back. Company policy requires—" Dante pulled out his wallet, extracted several $100 bills, and handed them to the stunned delivery guy. "For your trouble, and for forgetting you were ever here." The man looked at the money, looked at Dante's expression, and made the smart choice. He left. With the flowers. I finally found my voice. "You can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" Dante turned to face me, and I was struck again by how present he was, how he seemed to take up all the air in a room just by existing. "Interfering, making decisions for me. I'm a grown woman, Dante. I can handle my ex-boyfriend." "Can you?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice so the lunch customers wouldn't hear. "Because from where I stand, Tesoro, you look like a woman being hunted by a man who doesn't understand the meaning of no." "He's not hunting me." "A gift. Then flowers. What comes next, Isabel? Does he show up at your apartment? At your door? Does he corner you in a parking garage and tell you he just wants to talk?" The accuracy of that prediction made my blood run cold, because that's exactly what Ethan had done before. 3 months after our breakup, when I was still raw and broken, he'd shown up at my old apartment at midnight, drunk and crying, begging for another chance. I'd let him in. It had been a mistake that took me another 6 months to undo. "How did you know?" I whispered. Dante's expression softened, just slightly. "Because I know men like him, and I know women like you. Women like me. Women with too much compassion, too much forgiveness, who see the good in people long after those people have proven they don't deserve it." His hand came up, and this time he did touch me, fingers gentle against my chin, tilting my face up to meet his eyes. "You have a kind heart, Bella, and men like him use that kindness like a weapon against you." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. His touch was electric, sending sparks across my skin. "Why do you care?" The question came out barely above a whisper. Something flickered in his dark eyes, something intense and possessive that made my knees weak. "Because what's mine stays mine, and you've been mine since the day you walked into this restaurant with those sad eyes and that stubborn spine." His. He said it like it was simple fact, like there was no room for argument. And God help me, I didn't want to argue. Thursday brought a text message. Unknown number, but I knew who it was before I even opened it. "Bella, I saw you threw away the roses. I deserve that. But please just give me 5 minutes. I need to apologize properly. For closure." Closure. That manipulative word that men always used when they wanted one more chance to plead their case. I was staring at the message during my break, sitting in the empty private dining room downstairs, when I felt him before I saw him. Dante had a presence that preceded him, a shift in the air, a subtle tension that made my body hyper-aware. "He texted you." Not a question, a statement. I looked up to find him standing in the doorway, backlit by the hall light, looking like some dark angel sent to either save me or destroy me. "How did you—" "Your face." He moved into the room, closing the door behind him. "You have a tell, Isabel. When something bothers you, you do this thing with your eyebrow, just the left one, where it pulls down slightly. Like now." He'd been watching me that closely. "It's just a text, asking to meet. For closure." "No." The single word was absolute. "Dante, you can't just—" "I can." He crossed the room in 3 strides, and suddenly he was there, right in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. "I can, and I will. You're not meeting with him." "That's not your decision." "Then whose decision is it?" His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "Yours? The woman who kept a snow globe from the man who destroyed her? The woman who can't even throw away flowers without someone doing it for her?" The words hit like a slap because they were true. I had kept the snow globe, had stared at it for hours before bringing it to work. And I probably would have kept the flowers too, let them die slowly on my kitchen counter while I tortured myself with what-ifs and maybe-ifs. "I'm not weak," I said, but my voice cracked on the last word. Dante's expression transformed. The anger melted into something softer, more tender, though no less intense. "No, you're not weak. You're strong. Strong enough to survive a man who didn't deserve you. Strong enough to rebuild your life. Strong enough to work in a place like this and never ask questions you know better than to ask." His hands came up to frame my face, thumbs brushing across my cheekbones with devastating gentleness. "But even strong women deserve someone to stand between them and the wolves, Tesoro. Let me be that for you." "Why?" My hands came up to grip his wrists, feeling the steady pulse beneath my fingers. "Why do you care so much? I'm just your employee." "Just my employee?" Something flashed in his eyes, offense, maybe, or disbelief. "Is that truly what you think you are to me? What else would I be?" He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was dark and rough, edged with frustration. "Dio mi aiuti, woman. Do you not see how I look at you? How I've looked at you since the first day you walked into my restaurant?" My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. "Dante, I watch you, Isabel, every night you work. I know you take your coffee black with 1 sugar at 4 p.m. I know you rub your left shoulder when you're stressed. I know you hum when you think no one is listening. Always the same song, something in French I don't recognize. I know you stayed 2 hours past your shift last month to comfort Maria when she found out her husband was sick. I know everything about you because I cannot stop myself from learning you." Each confession hit me like a physical thing, stealing my breath. "I know I shouldn't," he continued, voice dropping to almost a whisper. "I know you deserve better than a man like me, a man who's made the choices I've made, who lives in the world I live in. But Cristo, Isabel, I cannot watch another man try to reclaim you like you're some lost property he misplaced." His forehead dropped to rest against mine, and I could feel his breath against my lips. "You're not his to reclaim. You were never his, and if I have any say in it, if you give me even the smallest permission, you'll be mine instead." I should have pulled away, should have reminded him about workplace boundaries and professional ethics and all the very good reasons why this was a terrible idea, but I'd spent 3 years being careful, being safe, protecting my heart behind walls so thick nothing could get through. And Dante Moretti had somehow scaled those walls without me even noticing. "I don't know how to do this," I whispered against his lips. "How to trust again, how to let someone in." "Then don't trust. Not yet." His hands tightened slightly on my face, possessive and protective all at once. "Just let me handle this. Let me deal with your ex. Let me show you what it means to be protected by someone who would burn the world before letting you be hurt again." It was insane. Dangerous. Probably the worst decision I could make. I said yes anyway. Ethan didn't stop. Friday morning, a gift basket delivered to my apartment building. Gourmet chocolates, expensive wine, and another note. The doorman called me at work to ask what he should do with it. Before I could answer, Dante took the phone from my hand. "Burn it," he told the doorman. "And if anyone else tries to deliver anything to Miss Laurent, you call this number first." He rattled off his personal cell, then he hung up and looked at me with those dark, intense eyes. "How did he get your address?" I don't know. I moved after we broke up." Dante's jaw clenched. "He's escalating, looking for weak points. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" He pulled out his phone, tapped something, and turned it to show me. Security camera footage, my apartment building. Time-stamped from last night, 11:47 p.m. A figure in a dark coat lingering across the street. Watching my building. The angle wasn't clear enough to see a face, but my instincts screamed the truth. "Ethan." My blood ran cold. "You've been having me watched?" "I've been having you protected." Dante's voice was steel. "There's a difference, and it's a good thing I was, because your ex-boyfriend is not just sending gifts, Kara. He's stalking you. The word hit me like ice water. Stalking. He probably just wanted to make sure I got the gift basket. At midnight? Standing in the shadows? Dante's hands gripped my shoulders firmly but not painfully. Isabel, look at me. Look at me. I did, and what I saw in his face made my stomach drop. Genuine concern. Real fear, not for himself but for me. This is not normal behavior. This is obsessive, and it needs to be handled before it gets worse. What are you going to do? My voice came out smaller than I wanted. His smile was cold and sharp as a blade. I'm going to have a conversation with Mr. Richardson, man to man. I didn't know where or when the conversation happened. All I knew was that Friday night, Ethan's texts stopped. Saturday. Nothing. Sunday. Silence. By Monday, I started to worry about what exactly Dante had done. Is Ethan okay? I asked during Monday's pre-service meeting. Dante looked up from the reservation list, one dark eyebrow raised. Define okay. Dante, did you hurt him? No. The answer was immediate and honest. I don't hurt civilians unless they give me no other choice. I simply explained the situation in terms he could understand. What kind of terms? A dangerous smile played at the corner of his mouth. I showed him photographs of you entering and leaving this restaurant. I showed him footage of my security team that follows you home each night, though you've never noticed them. I explained that you are under the protection of the Moretti family and that any continued harassment would be considered a direct insult to me personally. My heart stopped. The Moretti family? See. Oh God, the Moretti family. One of the 5 families that supposedly ran organized crime in New York. I'd known Dante was connected, but having it confirmed was different. I told him, Dante continued, voice dropping lower, that if he contacted you again, if he so much as thought your name, I would personally ensure that every business deal he's working on falls through, that every social connection he has dries up, that his life becomes very, very difficult. You can't just, I can, and I did. He set down the reservation list and rounded the desk, coming to stand in front of me. He needed to understand that you are not alone, Isabel, that you have someone who will go to war for you if necessary. I never asked you to do that. You didn't need to ask. This is what I do. I protect what's mine. There it was again. That word. Mine. I'm not a possession, Dante. No, you're not. His hand came up to cup my face, thumb tracing my bottom lip with devastating gentleness. You're so much more than that. You're the woman who makes me question every decision I've ever made. The woman who makes me want to be better than I am. The woman who walks into a room and makes me forget everyone else exists. My breath caught. But you are mine, he continued, voice dropping to a rough whisper. Whether you're ready to admit it yet or not, you became mine the moment you looked at me with those beautiful sad eyes and didn't flinch when you figured out who I really am. I should be afraid of you, I whispered. Probably. His smile was dark and honest. But you're not, are you? No, I wasn't. I should be terrified of Dante Moretti, of what he did, who he was, the violence that lived behind those dark eyes. But all I felt was safe, protected, wanted. What happens now? I asked. Now? His other hand came up to frame my face, holding me like I was something precious and breakable. Now I do what I should have done weeks ago. What's that? This. And then he kissed me. It wasn't a gentle kiss. Dante didn't do gentle, I realized. He did thorough, consuming, complete. His mouth claimed mine with the same absolute certainty he brought to everything else. No hesitation, no asking permission, just pure decisive action that stole my breath and my sanity in equal measure. I gasped against his lips and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until I couldn't remember why this was a bad idea. His hands tangled in my hair, angling my head exactly where he wanted it, and I stopped thinking altogether. All I could do was feel Feel the hard muscle of his chest under my palms. Feel the racing of his heart that matched mine. Feel the barely contained violence in how he held me, like he was holding himself back from consuming me completely. When he finally pulled away, we were both breathing hard. "Dio," he muttered against my lips. "You have no idea how long I've wanted to do that." "Dante," I started, but he cut me off with another kiss, this one slower but no less devastating. "Don't," he said between kisses. "Don't think. Don't analyze. Don't pull away from me, Tesoro, because I don't think I could survive it. This is insane. You're my boss. I work for you." "Then you're fired," I jerked back. "What?" His smile was wicked. "If that's the only barrier between us, then you're fired. Effective immediately. I'll write you the best reference letter you've ever seen. You'll have a new job by next week." "You can't just fire me. I can do anything I want, Bella. I own this restaurant. I make the rules." His hands tightened on my waist. "But if you want to keep working here, fine. Work for me. Manage my restaurant. Run my front of house like the queen you are. Just don't tell me I can't have you because of some arbitrary professional boundary. It's not arbitrary. It is when I've spent 8 months trying to be honorable, trying to keep my distance, trying to convince myself that you deserved better than a man with blood on his hands and sin in his soul." His forehead dropped to mine. "But I'm not that strong, Isabel. Not when it comes to you." I could feel his words in my chest, in my bones, in the parts of me I'd thought were dead after Ethan. "I'm scared," I whispered. "Of me? Of this? Of feeling this much? Of giving someone the power to destroy me again?" Dante pulled back enough to look into my eyes, and what I saw there made my throat tight. Tenderness. Real, genuine tenderness from a man who probably showed that to almost no one. "Then let me earn it," he said quietly. "Let me prove that I'm not him, that I will never be him. Let me show you what it means to be cherished by someone who knows your worth." God, how could I say no to that? "Okay," I breathed. His smile was brilliant and terrifying all at once. "Okay?" "Okay, but—" I pressed my hand against his chest when he tried to kiss me again. "We take this slow, and you have to promise me something. Anything. If Ethan contacts me again, if anything happens, you don't kill him." Dante's expression went carefully blank. "I'm not sure I can promise that, Kara. Dante, if he threatens you, if he tries to hurt you, I will do what is necessary to protect you. Always. That's not negotiable." The absolute certainty in his voice should have frightened me. Instead, it made me feel safer than I'd felt in years. "Then promise me you'll try. That violence will be the last resort." He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "I'll try. For you." It was the best I was going to get. The next few days felt like living in a dream. Dante didn't hide his feelings anymore. He found excuses to touch me. A hand on the small of my back as he passed, fingers lingering when he handed me paperwork, casual brushes of contact that made my skin electric. At work, he remained professional in front of customers, but when it was just us, or just family, his sister Lucia cornered me in the kitchen Wednesday afternoon. "So," she said, arms crossed, dark eyes sparkling with mischief. "You and my brother." I felt heat climb up my neck. "I don't know what you're talking about. Bella, please. I've known Dante his whole life. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you, like you're the answer to a question he's been asking his entire life." "Lucia. I approve, by the way. In case you were wondering. You're good for him. You make him smile. Really smile, not that cold thing he does for business. You make him human." "He's always been human," I said softly. She tilted her head, studying me. "Yes, but he forgets sometimes. This life, what we do, it can make you forget. But with you, he remembers." I didn't know what to say to that. "Just," Lucia's expression grew serious, "be patient with him. He's been alone a long time. He's forgotten how to let people in. It's going to take time for him to trust this, to trust that you won't leave." "I'm not going anywhere," I said automatically. Her smile was sad. That's what his mother said too. And then she left when he was 12, walked away from the family, from the life, from him and me. He's never really recovered from that abandonment. My heart cracked. Suddenly so many things about Dante made sense. The possessiveness, the need to protect, the difficulty letting people close. Thank you for telling me. She squeezed my hand. Make him happy, Isabel. God knows he deserves it. Thursday night, Dante took me to dinner. Not at Salvatore's, somewhere else, somewhere quiet and intimate where the staff knew to give us privacy. Tell me something, he said over wine, something real, something you don't tell people. I thought about it, swirling the red wine in my glass. I wanted to be a writer once, novels specifically, romance novels. His eyebrow rose. Why didn't you? Ethan said it was a waste of time, that I should focus on a real career. I laughed bitterly. So I got my business degree and managed his parents' hotel for 2 years while he built his investment portfolio. Gave up my dream to support his. Dante's expression darkened. He was an idiot. Maybe. But I was too, for listening. No. He reached across the table, taking my hand. You were loyal. Devoted. Those are good qualities. He just didn't deserve them. And you do? I asked softly. No. Probably not. His thumb traced circles on my palm. But I'll spend every day trying to. Later, he walked me to my apartment door. His security team was there. I'd finally noticed them after Dante pointed them out. 2 cars, rotating shifts. More protection than any restaurant manager should need. Unless that restaurant manager was sleeping with the Mafia. You're thinking too much, Dante murmured against my temple. How do you know? Because you get this little line right here. He traced between my eyebrows. When you're overthinking. I'm just processing all of this. Process faster. His smile was teasing, but his eyes were serious. Because I'm running out of patience, Tesoro. Patience for what? Instead of answering, he kissed me. Slow and deep and devastating, pressing me back against my apartment door until I couldn't think straight. When he pulled away, we were both breathing hard. That, he said roughly, I'm running out of patience for taking things slow, for being gentle, for not claiming you completely. Heat flooded through me. Dante. But I will. For you, I will. He pressed one more kiss to my forehead, soft and sweet. Lock your door. My men will be outside all night. Then he was gone, leaving me trembling and wanting and completely undone. The box arrived Friday morning. Not to my apartment, not to the restaurant, to Dante's private office. I was updating the wine inventory when I heard the crash, something shattering, followed by a string of Italian curses so creative I almost wanted to applaud. I ran to his office. The door was open. Dante stood behind his desk, fury radiating from him like heat from a furnace. And on his desk, my stomach turned. Photographs. Dozens of them. All of me. Me leaving my apartment, me walking to work, me laughing with the waitstaff, me through the window of my apartment, clearly taken with a telephoto lens, and in the center, a note written in elegant script. She looks happy with you. Enjoy it while it lasts. Ethan, I whispered, that figlio di puttana. Dante's voice was lethal. He pulled out his phone, dialed, spoke rapid Italian to whoever answered. Then he looked at me, and I'd never seen him look so dangerous. Pack a bag. You're staying with me until this is handled. Dante, I can't just... This is not negotiable. His voice cracked like a whip. He's been watching you, Isabel. For weeks, maybe longer. He's unstable, obsessed. And I cannot risk something happening to you. My hands were shaking. You said you talked to him. You said he understood... Apparently, I wasn't clear enough. His smile was cold and cruel. That's a mistake I'm going to correct. What are you going to do? He came around the desk, cupping my face in his hands. Whatever is necessary to keep you safe, even if that means doing things that will make you hate me. I won't hate you? You might. but I can live with you hating me as long as you're alive to do it." He kissed my forehead. "Go home. Pack enough for a week. My driver will take you to my house. I'll meet you there tonight." "And Ethan?" His eyes went cold. "Leave him to me." I didn't go home. Not immediately. Instead, I sat in Dante's office staring at those photographs, my life captured through the lens of obsession, and felt something inside me crack open. Not fear, though that was there too. Rage. Pure, molten rage at Ethan Richardson for thinking he had any right to my life, for stalking me like prey, for turning what should have been a fresh start into a nightmare. And underneath that rage, guilt. Because Dante was about to do something terrible, something possibly irreversible. Because of me. Because I'd been too weak to fully cut Ethan out 3 years ago. Because I'd kept that stupid snow globe for even 5 seconds instead of throwing it away immediately. I was still sitting there when Lucia found me. "Dante told me," she said quietly, closing the office door behind her. "About the photographs. I've ruined everything." My voice sounded hollow. "Your brother is going to— God, I don't even know what he's going to do, and it's my fault." "No." Lucia's voice was sharp. She pulled up a chair, sitting directly in front of me, forcing me to meet her eyes. "This is not your fault. You didn't ask for this. You didn't encourage it. A man's obsession is his own responsibility, not yours. But if I hadn't what? Existed? Been kind? Had the audacity to move on with your life after someone hurt you?" She gripped my hands. "Listen to me, Isabel. In our world, the world Dante and I grew up in, there's a code. Rules that keep the chaos manageable, and one of those rules is sacred. You do not threaten what belongs to the family. I'm not family. You are to Dante, which makes you family to me, to all of us." Her expression softened. "He loves you, you know. He hasn't said it. Probably won't for a while because he's a stubborn idiot who's afraid of vulnerability. But I've never seen him like this. Never seen him willing to go to war for someone who isn't blood." My throat felt tight. "What's he going to do to Ethan?" Lucia was quiet for a moment. Then, "Probably scare him. Maybe rough him up a bit. Dante's not— He's not a monster, Isabel. He doesn't hurt people for fun. But he will protect what's his with everything he has. Even if it means crossing lines. Especially then." Dante's house wasn't what I expected. I'd imagined something cold, modern, all glass and steel like a Mafia don from a movie. Instead, it was a brownstone in Brooklyn. Classic architecture, warm lighting, with a garden in the back that someone clearly tended with care. His driver, Marco, a man with kind eyes and forearms like tree trunks, helped me carry my hastily packed bags inside. "Mr. Moretti says to make yourself comfortable," Marco said, setting my bags in the foyer. "He'll be home by 10. There's food in the kitchen if you're hungry. And—" He hesitated. "What?" "Don't answer the door for anyone but him. And if you need anything at all, you call this number." He handed me a card with a phone number written in neat print. "That's me. I'm 10 minutes away." After he left, I explored. The house was lived in, comfortable. There were books on shelves, Italian literature mixed with American classics, and, surprisingly, crime thrillers. Photographs on the walls showed a younger Dante with Lucia and a man who must have been their father. Another showed Dante in military uniform, maybe 19 or 20, looking simultaneously young and ancient. The kitchen was impressive, clearly designed by someone who actually cooked. I found fresh pasta in the fridge, homemade sauce, crusty bread. I was stress-eating focaccia when my phone rang. Unknown number. My hand froze halfway to my mouth. It rang 3 times before I answered. "Hello?" Heavy breathing on the other end. Then, "You think hiding behind a gangster makes you safe?" Ethan. But his voice was wrong, shrill, desperate, nothing like the smooth charm I remembered. "How did you get this number?" "I know everything about you, Belle. Where you work, where you live, who you're fucking." The last word was spat like venom. "Do you have any idea what you've done, what he's cost me?" My heart was hammering. "Ethan, You need to stop. Stop? Stop? He laughed, and it sounded unhinged. I've lost 3 major investors because of him. Had 2 business partners pull out of deals. My reputation is destroyed because your boyfriend decided to play mob boss. You were stalking me. I was trying to apologize, trying to make things right. His breathing was ragged. We were supposed to be forever, Belle. You and me. That was the plan, and you threw it away for what? Some Italian thug who'll probably get you killed? Ethan, I'm coming to talk to you, face to face, tonight. We're going to settle this like adults. Ice flooded my veins. Don't come here. Oh, I'm not coming there. I know better than that. No, you're going to meet me. Neutral ground, just you and me. One conversation, then I'll leave you alone forever. I'm not meeting you anywhere. Yes, you are. His voice dropped, turned cold. Because if you don't, I'm going to the police. I'm going to tell them everything about Salvatore's. About the private meetings, the cash transactions, the men in expensive suits who smell like violence. I'll bring your boyfriend's entire operation down. My mouth went dry. You can't, I can. And I will. Unless you meet me. 1 hour, the coffee shop on 5th and Marion, the one where we had our first date. Remember? Back when you loved me? Ethan, please. 1 hour, Belle. Or I make the call. He hung up. I stood frozen in Dante's kitchen, phone trembling in my hand, and felt the trap close around me. I should have called Dante immediately, should have told him about the threat, let him handle it. But Ethan's words kept echoing. I'll bring your boyfriend's entire operation down. If Ethan went to the police, if he had even half the evidence he claimed, Dante could be arrested. His restaurant shut down, his family exposed, all because of me. Because I'd been stupid enough to date Ethan Richardson, stupid enough to let him back into my orbit even tangentially. I couldn't let that happen. So I did something monumentally stupid. I called an Uber. The coffee shop was nearly empty, just an older couple in the corner and a barista who looked like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. Ethan was already there, sitting at our table by the window. He looked terrible, hollow-eyed, unshaven, wearing a wrinkled button-down that probably cost $500 but looked like he'd slept in it. When he saw me, his expression transformed. Relief, hunger, desperation, all mixed together. Belle, you came. I'm here. You have 5 minutes. Sit, please. When I didn't move, his voice cracked. Please, Belle, just sit. Against every instinct, I sat. Up close, he looked even worse. There were scratches on his hands, like he'd been clawing at something. His eyes were bloodshot. You look awful, I said quietly. I feel awful. I am awful. He laughed bitterly. Apparently, your boyfriend was very clear about that. What did he do to you? Nothing physical. Didn't have to. Ethan's hands were shaking around his coffee cup. He came to my office, Wednesday afternoon, walked right past security like he owned the building, sat across from my desk and just looked at me. For maybe 30 seconds. Just looked, and I've never been more terrified in my life. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of dark satisfaction. Then he showed me files, Ethan continued. Files on me, my business, my finances, my new fiancé. Did you know I'm engaged again? Of course you did. Facebook. He laughed again, hollow. He knew everything, Belle. Everything, including some things that could land me in federal prison if the right people found out. What things? Tax stuff. Offshore accounts, some investments that maybe weren't entirely legal. He looked up at me and his eyes were wild. He said if I contacted you again, those files would end up with the SEC and the IRS. My life would be over. Then why are you here? My voice was colder than I expected. Why risk it? Because I love you. It burst out of him, desperate and raw. I know I don't deserve you. I know I destroyed what we had. But Belle, we had something real. You can't tell me you don't remember. 3 years together. We were going to get married, have kids, build a life. You built that life with someone else. I made a mistake. One stupid, horrible mistake that I've regretted every single day since. He reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back. She meant nothing. It was just stress and stupidity, and I don't even know. But you, Belle, you were everything. Were, past tense. Don't say that. His voice broke. Don't say it like we're over, like there's no chance. There isn't a chance, Ethan. There hasn't been for 3 years. Because of him? Because of that criminal you're sleeping with? Anger flashed across his face. Do you have any idea what he is? What he does? He's a gangster, Belle. He hurts people, probably kills them. And you think that's better than me? He's never betrayed me. The words came out quiet, but absolute. He's never made me feel small. He's never made me question my worth. So yes, Ethan, he is better than you. Ethan's expression twisted into something ugly. You're making a mistake, a huge, life-ruining mistake. And when he gets tired of you, when he trades you in for the next pretty thing, don't come crying to me. I stood up. I won't, because unlike you, when Dante Moretti commits to something, he doesn't break his word. Belle, you threatened to go to the police, to destroy his business, so let me make something very clear. I leaned down, keeping my voice low and steady. If you do that, if you make that call, I will personally testify about every illegal thing I know you've done. The tax fraud, the offshore accounts, the insider trading I helped you cover up because I was too naive to realize what you were doing. His face went pale. That's right. I remember. I might not have all the details, but I have enough. Dates, transaction numbers, emails I saved. So if you want to play mutually assured destruction, Ethan, I'm ready. It was a bluff. Mostly. I had some information, but probably not enough to actually convict him of anything. But he didn't know that. You wouldn't... Try me. We stared at each other across the table. Two people who'd once promised forever, now locked in a cold war. Finally, Ethan looked away. Fine. You win. I'll leave you alone. No more gifts, no more texts, no more showing up outside my building. Fine. And delete whatever photos you have of me. His jaw clenched, but he nodded. I turned to leave, then paused. Ethan, get help. Real help, because this... I gestured to him, to the desperate mess he'd become. This isn't healthy. Then I walked out before he could respond. I made it half a block before my legs started shaking. I'd done it. Faced him down, made him back off without Dante having to do whatever terrible thing he'd been planning. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt sick, because I'd gone behind Dante's back, deliberately disobeyed his very clear instruction to stay at his house, put myself in danger because I thought I could handle it alone. He was going to be furious. I pulled out my phone to call an Uber, and a black SUV pulled up beside me. The window rolled down. Marco. Get in, he said quietly. The ride back to Dante's house was silent. Marco didn't ask where I'd been, didn't lecture, just drove with the kind of disappointed silence that was somehow worse than yelling. When we pulled up to the brownstone, I saw another car already there. Dante's. My stomach dropped. He knows, Marco said as I reached for the door handle, how... He had someone watching you, not to control you, to protect you. That person saw you leave, called him immediately. Marco finally looked at me, and his expression was somber. Miss Laurent, I've worked for Mr. Moretti for 8 years. I've never seen him scared, until tonight. When he realized you'd gone to meet your ex alone. Guilt crashed over me. Marco, don't apologize to me. Apologize to him. He nodded toward the house. If you can get him to listen before he puts his fist through a wall. I found Dante in his living room, standing by the window, hands braced against the frame like he was physically holding himself back from something violent. He didn't turn when I entered. You left. His voice was flat, carefully controlled. I told you to stay here, where you were safe, and you left. I know, I'm sorry. Sorry? Now he turned, and the fury in his eyes made me step back involuntarily. You're sorry? Isabel, do you have any idea, any fucking idea, what went through my mind when Marco called and said you were gone? I can explain. Explain? He laughed, but it was a terrible sound. What's to explain? That you didn't trust me to handle it? That you thought meeting your stalker ex-boyfriend alone was safer than letting me do my job? He threatened you! The words exploded out of me. He said he'd go to the police, that he'd destroy everything you've built. I couldn't let that happen. Dante went very still. So you went to protect me? Yes. From consequences that are mine to face. From consequences that were my fault? No. He crossed the room in 3 strides, gripping my shoulders. No, Bella, this was never your fault. His obsession, his stalking, his threats, none of that is on you. You do not take responsibility for a man's madness. But nothing. His grip gentled, hand sliding up to cup my face. Do you know what I thought? When I got that call? I thought I'd lost you, that he'd taken you somewhere, hurt you, and I would have burned this entire city to ashes to find you. There were tears on my cheeks. When had I started crying? I was trying to help. I know, Tesoro. He pulled me against his chest and I felt him shaking. But Cristo, Isabel, you took 10 years off my life. Don't ever, ever do that again. I won't, I promise. He held me for a long time, his heart pounding against my ear. Finally, what happened? With Ethan? So I told him everything. The phone call, the threats, the meeting, what I'd said. When I finished, Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he started laughing. You threatened him with federal crimes you have evidence of? Maybe. I might have been bluffing about how much evidence I actually have. Dio, woman. He pulled back to look at me, and despite the lingering anger in his eyes, there was something else too. Pride. You constantly surprise me. Is that good? It's terrifying. But yes, it's good. He kissed my forehead. Though we're still having a conversation about you following instructions. I don't take instructions well. I've noticed. His smile was dark. We'll work on that. The way he said it made heat flood through me. Dante, you're staying here, permanently. Not a question, a statement. I don't trust that he's actually done, and even if he is, I'm not willing to risk it. You stay here, where my security can watch you, where I can keep you safe. That's non-negotiable, he finished. Unless you hate the idea of living with me, in which case, I'll find you a different place with round-the-clock security. I don't hate the idea, I said quietly. His expression transformed. No? No, we've only been together a week. Isn't this fast? I decided you were mine 8 months ago. We're actually behind schedule. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. But if you need time, I don't. The certainty surprised me. I don't need time. I need you. The kiss was inevitable, desperate, full of the fear we'd both been carrying. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with promise. Good, because I'm done being patient, Isabel. Done taking things slow. I want you in my home, in my bed, in my life, permanently. What if I break your heart? Then I'll die a happy man. He lifted me effortlessly, and I wrapped my legs around his waist on instinct. But you won't. Because I know you feel this too. This thing between us that's too big to fight. I did feel it. Had felt it since the first time he looked at me with those dark, intense eyes and saw me. Really saw me. Bedroom? I whispered against his lips. His smile was pure sin. Finally. 3 months later. Christmas Eve again. But this year, I wasn't sitting alone in a hotel bar fighting tears. I was curled up on Dante's couch, our couch, I corrected mentally, watching snow fall outside the window while he cooked dinner in the kitchen. Domestic bliss from a Mafia dawn. The universe had a sense of humor. My phone buzzed. Lucia. Dinner tomorrow at 2. Don't be late. Nonna wants to meet the woman who tamed her grandson. I smiled, typing back. I didn't tame him. I just redirected his intensity. Lucia. Same thing. Bring wine, the expensive kind. She judges. Who's texting? Dante appeared with 2 plates of pasta that smelled like heaven. Your sister, reminding me about tomorrow. Nervous? Terrified. Your grandmother sounds terrifying. She is. He set the plates down, settling beside me on the couch. She's also going to love you, because you make me happy. And that's all she's ever wanted. I took a bite of pasta, perfect, obviously, and studied his face. He looked relaxed, content. Younger somehow, without the weight of constant danger pressing down. No news on Ethan? I asked. No, and there won't be. Dante's expression stayed calm. Marco's been monitoring. He's kept his word, deleted the photos, no contact. He even took down his social media accounts. Really? Really? I think your threat worked better than mine. He grinned. You're terrifying when you want to be, Tesoro. Learn from the best. We ate in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes when 2 people are genuinely at ease with each other. I have something for you, Dante said eventually, setting his plate aside. Dante, we said no gifts. This isn't a gift, it's a correction. He pulled a small box from his pocket, not ring-sized, slightly larger. I opened it carefully. Inside was a snow globe. My breath caught. But this wasn't like Ethan's carefully recreated Brooklyn Bridge. This was Manhattan at night, tiny lights glowing from buildings, miniature people on sidewalks, and in the center, a restaurant. Salvatore's. Where we met, I whispered. Where you walked into my restaurant with sad eyes and a spine of steel and completely destroyed my carefully controlled life. He took the snow globe, turning it over. This one has an inscription, too. I read it. IL and DM, where forever actually started. Tears blurred my vision. I thought, Dante's voice was rough, that you should have a snow globe that represents real love, not the false promise some boy made you, but the actual thing. Messy and complicated and real. Dante, I love you, Isabel. He said it simply, certainly, like it was the easiest truth in the world. I'm probably going to be possessive and overprotective and drive you crazy, but I love you with everything I am, and I will spend the rest of my life proving that you made the right choice when you chose me. I set the snow globe down carefully and launched myself at him, kissing him with everything I had. I love you too, I said against his lips, possessiveness and all. His smile was brilliant. Good, because I'm never letting you go. Outside, snow continued to fall on Christmas Eve. Inside, wrapped in the arms of a dangerous man with a gentle heart, I finally understood what forever was supposed to feel like. Not a snow globe fantasy, but this. Real, complicated, beautiful this.